December 14, 1947 is when NASCAR really got founded by Bill France Sr. Down at the Streamline Hotel in Daytona, Florida. And Mr. France had this vision of organizing a racing group. There had been a lot of interest in racing down there on the beach at Daytona, but it really wasn't organized. And so Mr. France got everybody together, all the important parties. I think there was like 30 or 40 people that he involved in this meeting at the Streamline Hotel in Daytona Beach, Florida. It's still there, in fact, the hotel is. And so that day, and actually over a 2-day period, he said, hey, we can have something special here with auto racing, but it needs to be organized. You need to have a point system. You need to be able to have prize money and things of that nature. And so, through his vision, NASCAR was founded. And lo and behold, here we are 75 years later, and it's one of the more popular sports in the country, and certainly the most popular form of auto racing in North America. And so, thanks to his vision, thanks to the leadership of the France family over the years, NASCAR has been able to enjoy tremendous success and really be a very viable form of sport and entertainment in this country, and really now globally, because it has become a global sport over the last several years, and certainly being able to celebrate a 75th anniversary is something special.
How much, do you think they had to go through in terms of getting it, like I said, just set up and organized and, really just kind of on a solid foundation to even get to a point where, it would last, just a few years? Because obviously a lot of sports, falter after a few years, even if you start them, so.
Well, first of all, they had to have a strong foundation, a strong leader, and certainly Bill France Sr. was that strong leader. And throughout his family, throughout the lineage of his family, there's been strong leadership, and we certainly have strong leadership now with Jim France and Lisa Kennedy France and Lisa's son Ben Kennedy. Through that strong leadership, I think he was able to bring in a lot of the key players that could help make this work. Okay, whether it be some drivers or some owners and people that just had investments in the sport to make this work. They had to come up with a rule book, right? There was no rule book at the time, so they had to come up with some rules and regulations. And I'm told that the first rule book was maybe like 2 pages. But be that as it may, back in the late 40s, this was something that was really becoming popular in the United States. And thanks to his leadership, a gentleman by the name of Harold Brasington, a couple years later decided to build a racetrack here at Darlington. And we opened up in 1950, and we're one of the first tracks built in the sport, second to Martinsville. But I just think you had to have a strong leader, which Mr. France was. You had to have some organization, some rules and regulations, and you also had to make it worthwhile for the drivers and teams to be involved. You had to have some prize money. So they put all that together, and obviously there's been a lot of tweaks and changes and things done over the years, and just about all of them have worked. And so, thankfully the sport has been strong, and I think the sport is as strong as it's ever been right now. The season that we came off here in 2022 has been a spectacular season, and I know there's a lot of anticipation for next year as well.
It seems like the founding of NASCAR and Darlington kind of go hand in hand, because it was they were almost one right after the other. So that's obviously got to be a special part of the history for you guys as well here.
Well, it certainly is, and with NASCAR being founded in 1947. Harold Brasington starting work on this track in the late 40s, I think in 1949, and opened in 1950, and our first race was in September 1950. And I think at that time they expected maybe 6,000-7,000 people to come to that first Southern 500. Well, I think they had 22,000 people show up, and so that's amazing. And so this will be the 74th running of the Southern 500 coming up in 2023. And but yeah, there is a lot of synergy and connection between the founding of NASCAR and certainly the development, the construction, the opening of Darlington Raceway. Like I said, we are the second oldest track out there behind Martinsville. And certainly I think we have the most history and the most heritage of any track out there. And that's why we host the Throwback Weekend. And that's why the Throwback Weekend is going to be such a big part of this celebration this year when we host that May 12th through 14th.
What can fans expect? How much you kind of going to tie in, obviously the 75th anniversary of NASCAR with the Throwback Weekend?
Well, the Throwback Weekend will be in its 9th season this year. And I can assure fans that this is going to be the biggest and best that we've ever had. It's going to be and needs to be a pillar of the 75th anniversary of NASCAR. And there are some things that, excuse me, we're working with NASCAR on to try to make this special. There's likely to be a top 75 drivers, top 75 paint schemes that could possibly be looked at, and tie all that into the Throwback Weekend. Some of those details are still being worked out, but I think if fans want to experience history at its best, NASCAR history at its best, they need to come to Darlington in May. All 3 national series will be here. We'll be recognizing the history of all 3, but particularly the entire sport. It will be a celebration of the entire sport that weekend. And like I said, no better place to have it than here at Darlington. The fans love coming here. The teams and drivers love coming here. And we're expecting something very, very special in May.
All right, sir. And just kind of last thing is, you mentioned this is the 74th running of the Southern 500. Next year will be your own 75th anniversary. Right. So I know you've got to have some plans kind of in the works, sir. You're really kind of hoping that's going to be a big celebration as well.
Absolutely, and that Southern 500, which is now the Cookout Southern 500, is a very, very special race. It's one of the crown jewels of our sport, and for the last 3 years, it's been the leadoff race for the Cup playoffs, and that's made it even more exciting and more impactful. So, yes, absolutely. There's things that we want to do to try to make that 75th running special. Our fans love coming to Darlington Labor Day weekend. It's a tradition. It has become, like I said, one of those races that drivers want to win. Everybody wants to win Daytona, and rightfully so. That's our Super Bowl. But I tell you, right behind that is that Southern 500. And to get a win at Darlington in Labor Day weekend is certainly something that all the drivers can be proud of. And certainly our fans gather. It's a festive weekend. It's a celebration of the American workforce weekend. And so, but yeah, we're going to make some really, really great things to happen in 2024, but we got 2023 to focus on right now, and all of our efforts right now are really being focused on that May event, May 12th through 14th.